Hey everyone, Theo here, back again with another review for the Xiaomi Mi Note 10. So I'm heading to the hawker center to buy my dinner and it's nighttime now, so it's a good time for me to test the nighttime video recording capabilities of this phone. Now, one interesting thing to note is I am now recording at 50 Hz, and when I switched over to 60 Hz there wasn't any flickering. I did not notice any flickering of the lights, which is really weird because the other day in the earlier video I was recording during daytime and all the lights, all the fluorescent lights, they were flickering, so I'm not sure what's happening right now. And I'm actually using the stock camera app, so there's no way for me to check the settings. So right now I'm recording with the main camera with image stabilization, but without the super stabilization. I'm actually on my skateboard right now, and it's quite dark, so I think the camera, the sensor is actually quite sensitive. It's able to enhance what I'm looking at quite nicely. Alright, I've just stopped here to test out the different cameras. So this is the main camera with image stabilization but without super stabilization. Just take note of how much noise there is. This is still the stock camera app. So the main camera is actually doing a pretty good job when it comes to capturing details at night. There is definitely going to be noise, but this is actually quite a good performance, much better than I expected. So this is the extra wide lens. It seems like it's able to capture a good amount of detail as well. And this is with image stabilization without super stabilization. What you're hearing is actually traffic noise. So I'm not sure how good the mic is at capturing my voice. This is the 2x camera with image stabilization without super stabilization. So everything that you are watching now, from the start of the video until this point in time, everything has been at auto settings. And this is the 5x zoom. Now notice how the headlights, they have this glow around, and also notice the streets, the reflected lights on the streets. Now the 2x and the 5x camera, they are a bit soft. The sharpest cameras would be the main camera and the extra wide. So far all the clips have been recorded with image stabilization turned on but without super stabilization. So I'm going to use the stock camera until the midway point and later on switch over to using manual with more manual controls. So for this part, I have turned on super stabilization. Regardless of the lens that you use, once you turn on super stabilization, the camera app will switch to using the extra wide lens. And it's using a cropped version of that extra wide lens. So when filming video, what I look out for is, first of all, the lights flickering, and in this case it looks like there is no flickering, which is very good. And secondly, I will look for how smooth the video is. Is there any lag with the video? Is the video very jerky? Are there problems with the image stabilization? So sometimes it's a bit difficult to see the true effect of your video until you have that on your computer. On the phone right now, as I'm looking at the screen, it looks fine, but the real deal is when you look at it on your computer screen, because that's where your work is going to be. With the front camera, you can only record at 1080p 30 frames per second. If you want 4K, you have to use the main cameras. So I'm almost at the hawker center. Another thing to look out for when recording videos with smartphones is how does the smartphone handle auto exposure? When the scene is very bright, does it make the scene darker? And when it makes the scene darker, is the transition smooth? And vice versa. So I've just came from a darker scene and now we have the bright hawker center. Alright, this place is actually very well lit, so you should be able to see a good amount of details. So this is my dinner, shot with the main camera. From the screen I can see that there is a lot of detail and everything is very well lit. This is the extra wide lens. Pardon the shadow on the right side. The macro lens is the softest lens and you have to go in close in order to get the sharpness. But even for photos, it's soft. This is the 2x camera. And this is the 5x camera. This is also quite soft. I've just switched over to using this app called Manual Camera. Good thing about this app is it has some manual control, so you can select ISO, exposure level, white balance, a lot of fluorescent lights, and there's no flickering, so that's fantastic. So earlier on while filming the cars with strong headlights, you can see the glow around the headlights. Now when the light source is not that strong, you can actually see the details quite clearly, such as the lights at the signboard. Alright, let me pan. So this is manual camera with its electronic stabilization. When you are using third-party camera apps, you can only use you can only access the main camera, so you will not have access to the extra wide and the telephoto. So now it's doing a pretty good job auto exposing the scene. So notice as I pan to the right side, the hawker center on the left, it's being overexposed. That's because the phone is trying to expose the scene in front of me. And the transition between highlights and the darks, the shadows, the transition for the exposure, it's done pretty well. It's not abrupt. And now I'm recording with the front-facing camera using the Manual Camera app. So when you're using third-party apps, you can record at higher resolution. With the stock camera, you can only record at 1080p. And this is with EIS, Electronic Image Stabilization, so hopefully this is smooth enough. And I'm recording at a pretty high bit rate at 100 megabits per second, so hopefully it's able to get all the details without much compression. This is the main camera using the Manual Camera app. This should be recording at 4K, 30 frames per second. With auto exposure, auto ISO, f-stop and shutter speed. Let's go record the cars again and see if there's any difference between manual camera and the stock camera. This is the spot that I recorded earlier with the stock camera, but now I'm using manual camera and I can definitely tell the difference. Pay attention to the light that's reflected off the ground. So the reflected light is now well exposed. It's not overexposed like earlier, but it's well exposed right now. I think the reason why it's so is because the whole scene is underexposed to basically keep everything well exposed. And notice sometimes when the cars pass, the exposure level will change, but the transition when the exposure changes, it's quite smooth, so that's good. And just pan quickly to this side. Last three things I want to say before I end this video. The battery life is quite good. I have been filming for 1 hour and 20 minutes and the battery life dropped 16%, so to me that's quite alright. And while using the phone non-stop for the hour, wow, that was a big rat there. While using the phone for almost an hour, it got really hot, so this phone does heat up quite considerably. And the last thing is, if you are thinking of getting this phone to take photographs, go ahead, because the main camera, it's fantastic. It has great clarity, sharpness, detail, and the extra wide and the 2x camera, those are pretty good as well. The soft cameras are the 5x and macro lens, so those aren't good at all. Okay, oops, almost dropped the phone. Alright, thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one. Bye.